Today I'm going to talk about wearing two hats. You wear an engineering hat and you wear an entrepreneur hat, and they can be quite different. Most of us as engineers kind of engineer by default. It's our default mode of operating. You kind of think of everything in engineering terms. Some of us with an entrepreneurial bent think of things a little differently than that, and we look at problems differently. A lot of times as an engineer, you're going to have a tendency to look at the technical side of the project that you're trying to solve, which is appropriate for an engineer. As an entrepreneur, you have to look at the problem differently. You have to be able to appreciate the financial aspect of that, the promotional aspect of the thing that you're working on, because what you're doing is not just solving a technical problem, you're solving a bigger problem with different puzzle pieces that need to fit together because it needs to work as a business. It can be difficult for engineers to be able to kind of set aside the engineering hat and put on the entrepreneur hat. Finding a balance between those can be challenging. It's pretty common as you grow as a business to be lifting up to the entrepreneurial level, kind of keeping an eye on things from a 10,000-foot view and letting engineers do the actual engineering. Because one of the traps for an entrepreneur engineer is to get sucked back into that engineering, since that's your training, that's your default way of operating. Also, a lot of engineers are introverted, which makes us be more comfortable looking at a problem rather than looking at the entrepreneurial side where you are making phone calls and emails and you're promoting your product or service. It comes easier to us to just look at the schematics and the technical details of what we're doing and focusing on that. But it's important to think of the project that you're working on as not just the technical side of the project, but look at the business side of it as a challenge. You can use your engineering mind to solve that problem as well. It's just a different problem with different specifications. And that's a great way for an engineer to be able to make entrepreneuring a bit more engineer-like. If you just look at the parameters of what you're trying to achieve as the specs of what you're doing. And the specs are not just electrical specs or software features, but it's the features of getting people to buy your product, getting people interested, going on the social media campaigns and those sorts of things that put your message out there. Rather than writing code, you're doing those other activities which lead to a successful product. And that can be just as fulfilling to the engineer mind that's got a little bit of an entrepreneurial bent to it. This type of thing is not for everyone. A lot of people as engineers will find as they take on that role that they really don't care for that role, that they really would rather just be heads down engineering. And that's fine as well. But you're probably here watching this video because you have that entrepreneurial spirit and you do want to do something more than just stare at schematics all day. It's a great way to be able to challenge yourself and to move to the next level in seeing a project from the higher view, 10,000 foot, 20,000 foot, 30,000 foot, depending on how far you push into the entrepreneurial side, as opposed to looking at things in great detail. And it doesn't mean that you don't care about the details and the engineering if you're an entrepreneur. You certainly do. You have to make your product be of good quality, and it has to meet the standards that you're shooting for to be able to go out there and sell it. It's just that that's not your primary focus. And if there's a problem that you see with someone not buying your product, it's not making the impact that you thought that it would, then you're going to be looking for engineering solutions to that, or you're going to be looking for entrepreneurial solutions to that. And which way you do that from your gut kind of depends on what your background is. But you can also put on that hat, put on your entrepreneurial hat and solve the problem as an entrepreneur as opposed to solving the problem as an engineer. And there are usually components of both. So it's great to be able to get adept at flipping between those modes. It is uncommon to be able to do that. Most of us kind of find a track and push down the track the same way, either as an entrepreneur or as an engineer. But for a small-time operator, an individual that's out there doing the work, you're going to have to do both. So being able to switch between engineering hat and entrepreneur hat is a great skill to be able to work on. Cultivate both of those. Realize that there's not that much difference in some ways between them. They're both problem-solving skills. It's just the parameters of the problem that you're solving is different. So you can, as an engineer, absolutely learn some entrepreneurial skills, learn how to solve the problem a different way, think in terms of project success, delivering value to your customers, those sorts of entrepreneurial mindsets that bring a whole new perspective of the project to your engineering project, and you'll be able to take it further.